The men in this video committed some of the most atrocious crimes against their victims and showed no remorse for their actions.
They did tie her up to keep her from contacting the authorities and give me enough time to get out of town.
This is Trevor Summers, a guy from Tampa, Florida, who got in trouble for doing some really awful things to his ex-wife, Alisa. In early 2017, Alisa and Trevor's marriage was falling apart, with Alisa getting restraining orders against him. After the divorce, Alisa had her own place, and they were sharing custody of their 5 children. Arden, the oldest, didn't want her family to break up. At that time, she looked up to her father and had a great relationship with him. So when Trevor asked her to help him in his mission to reconcile with Alisa, she didn't hesitate. With his daughter's help, he broke into his ex-wife's house, tied her up with different objects around the house, and did some pretty despicable things to her. While his children waited outside in the car, he tormented his ex-wife and attempted to kill her several times with a pillow and a rope. He then put her inside her car and drove her to a remote location where he continued with the torment. The horrifying ordeal lasted 55 hours until eventually Alisa was rescued and Trevor arrested. During his trial, Trevor represented himself after firing all his lawyers, so he was the one who cross-examined his daughter and ex-wife about what happened.
I filed the protective order that made you not be allowed to contact me, not be allowed to come to my home, or it would be against the law and you would be charged.
This was a man I trusted, and this was a man that I thought could do no wrong. And just to know that he used me to do what he wanted to do hurts more than anything. And as soon as I walked into the courtroom, he recognized me. He looked me right in the eye, and it was terrifying.
After a long trial, the jury found Trevor was guilty of kidnapping, attempted murder, and
They did tie her up to keep her from contacting the authorities and give me enough time to get out of town.
the judge called his actions heinous and unforgivable and noted that he showed no remorse for what he had done. He was sentenced to 3 life sentences, followed by 224 years in prison. While Trevor's actions were clearly evil, they were nothing compared to what this next guy did. Jake Patterson.
Do absolutely anything to take back what I did, I would die. I would do absolutely anything to bring them back.
Jake Patterson was 21 years old when he committed a crime that shook the state of Wisconsin and the United States at large. The crime happened on October 15, 2018, at around 12:53 a.m. when he broke into the home of 13-year-old Jamie Lynn Kloss, killed her parents, and took off with her. He drove 70 miles with her to a cabin in the woods, where he held her captive for 88 days until she was fortunately able to escape on January 10, 2019. During the trial, the prosecutor revealed the horrific details of what little Jamie went through during her captivity. He held her in the small cabin for days, physically and emotionally abusing her. He would force her to stay under the bed for hours whenever he had visitors. He rarely left her to leave the cabin, except for brief walks on the lawn after checking for bystanders. Patterson believed that Jamie was too afraid of her to make any attempts to escape. In the afternoon of January 10th, Patterson told Jamie that he was leaving for a couple of hours and put her under his bed, boxed in with his belongings. But after he left, Jamie pushed her around the bed and ran out of the house, only wearing a light shirt, leggings, and a pair of Patterson's sneakers. She came across a neighbor who recognized her from news reports and helped her.
And we were almost home, and she was walking towards me, crying, saying, "You gotta help me, you gotta help me."
Okay.
So I didn't want to go into my cabin because it's too close to Patterson's.
And she said her name is Jamie Kloss?
Yep.
Jake Patterson pleaded guilty to 2 counts of first-degree intentional homicide and 1 count of kidnapping.
Do absolutely anything to take back what I did, I would die. I would do absolutely anything to bring them back.
On May 24th, 2019, a judge sentenced Patterson to 2 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole for the murders and an additional 40 years for the kidnapping of Jamie Kloss. While the sentence was being read, Patterson showed no emotion, though he later apologized to Jamie and her family for the hurt that he caused them.
And because of this monster, Jamie won't have her mom and dad at her dance recitals.
Knowing what my sister went through the last minutes of her life, trying to protect Jamie, This doesn't leave my mind.
As for why he did it, Patterson said in a letter to a journalist that it was based on impulse. His grandfather described Patterson as shy and quiet and spent most of his time playing computer games instead of social interaction. He admitted that something had gone wrong with Patterson, and the grandfather was right. For someone without any prior criminal history to one day just kill 2 people in cold blood and then take off with their child, something is definitely wrong with him.
I'm just so sorry.
Patterson's fake apology did not move the judge because there was a report that said Patterson had been planning to kidnap a girl for some time and that he had other fantasies about kidnapping multiple girls and brutalizing them.
Not only were you a danger to the Claus family, you are an extreme danger to the public in general.
And now, from Patterson's fake apology to this next kidnapper who was proven guilty but has never even thought of providing an apology to his victims. Stuart Campbell was the uncle of 15-year-old Danielle Jones, but his actions showed that he had no business being an uncle or being anywhere near children for that matter. Campbell was a father of 2 who was married to the sister of Danielle's father, making him her uncle by marriage. On June 18, 2001, left her home in East Tilbury, Essex, and was walking to a bus stop when she went missing. Suspicion pointed at Campbell right away after he refused to help in the search to find her. The cops arrested him on June 23, 2001, just 5 days after Danielle disappeared. The detectives took their time before arresting him because they had to think about whether arresting him right away would put Danielle in danger. They hoped she was still alive, and if they arrested him too soon, they might not find her. The cops asked the public for help and even went on TV to get more information. They did their best to find Danielle, with over 900 police officers and others searching more than 1,500 places to locate her body. Sadly, within 2 months of her going missing, the police were pretty sure she was no longer alive. On August 17th, police rearrested Campbell on suspicion of murder after finding significant evidence that supported their theory. He went to trial in October 2002, where the prosecutor revealed that Campbell had been inappropriately attracted to his niece and had an unhealthy obsession with her.
Worried about your relationship with Danielle. Tell me what it was about her, Stuart. Why you wanted to be with her.
No comment.
It emerged that he had been grooming her for months and would regularly pick her up from the school bus stop in his van. On the day she went missing, she had been seen talking to a man in a blue Ford Transit van, resembling Campbell's. He had also sent her an inordinate amount of text messages. Notes were found in the girl's pencil case, and he had kept a diary of their relationship. Investigators had also found disturbing evidence on his computer, including indecent images of underage girls, including Danielle. A pair of blood-stained stockings were discovered in Campbell's loft, which had DNA matching both him and his niece, and a lip gloss belonging to Danielle was also located at his home. A key piece of evidence in the trial was a text message purportedly sent to Campbell by the 15-year-old after her disappearance. It was sent in uppercase, while she generally wrote in lowercase. Mobile phone data revealed both his and Danielle's phones had been in the same location at the time the message was sent. Forensic authorship analysis indicated Campbell had written the message rather than his niece. At the end of the trial, Campbell was found guilty and sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum of 20 years for the murder of Danielle Jones. When the sentence was read, he showed no emotion.
Danielle's murder has affected hundreds of us here at Essex Police. Many of you who have come to know the family through this case still feel their pain as they continue to live without having been able to say a final goodbye to their lovely daughter.
Campbell refused to say what he did with Danielle's body and maintained that he was innocent and was framed for the crime. However, it was revealed that Campbell had previous convictions for committing indecent acts on teenage girls. In 1989, he had received a 12-month suspended sentence for holding a 14-year-old girl in his house against her will and taking indecent photos of her. This proved that he did have a creepy interest in schoolgirls, and his niece, unfortunately, became one of his victims, now from Campbell, who refused to own up to his actions. We move to this next kidnapper, who was caught red-handed and cannot deny his crime. Michael Webb.
Door! Open the door!
Very good.
Hands! Let me see your hands! Step out here! Step out! Get on the ground!
Michael Webb is a 51-year-old predator who committed the most despicable acts against an 8-year-old girl. In May 2019, Webb was captured on a surveillance camera, grabbing the child while she was walking with her mom to school. He then bundled her into his car before driving away.
My daughter just got kidnapped!
This led to a massive manhunt as the authorities tried to find Webb and the little girl. After 8 hours, the child was found alive in a hotel room in Fort Worth, Texas.
Got her. We got her. We got her.
The police had followed a tip made by a Good Samaritan who spotted the car used in the abduction in the hotel parking lot. After a brief standoff with Webb, the police were able to get inside and rescue the little girl.
Hands! Let me see your hands! Step out here! Step out! Get on the ground!
Suspect is placed in handcuffs.
Michael Webb was arrested and charged with kidnapping, among other charges.
And I know I missed somebody because when I pushed the woman and grabbed her, I heard somebody scream.
Webb admitted to the crime during a 3-hour interview with the FBI. During the trial, evidence showed that he had done some terrible things to the child while she was in captivity. The little girl's mother, who was traumatized by the entire ordeal, told the court that she attempted to fight off Webb and jumped into his car when he grabbed her daughter. But she said Webb pushed her out and drove away with her child still inside. Throughout the trial, his lawyer did not call for any witnesses or cross-examine any of the prosecution's witnesses. It took the jury a little more than 10 minutes to find him guilty on all charges. In October 2019, Michael Webb was given a life sentence without the possibility of parole. The presiding judge described Webb's crime as heinous and despicable and said that his actions were beyond comprehension. The sentence was met with widespread approval from the public, who saw it as a fitting punishment for such a heinous crime.
The jury had overwhelming evidence before them, so we were happy that they came back. We think that justice in this case was swift and it was certain.
The girl's mother also approved the sentence, saying that she was relieved that the man who had caused her family so much pain was now behind bars for life. Webb did not attend most of his trial. In fact, he was not there when the guilty verdict was read. When Webb heard his sentence, he showed no remorse, although he had cried during his interrogation.
Did you say to excuse me, Michael?
I told her that if she said anything, that I would do something to her parents.
Now that Michael Webb is locked up, let's go to the next kidnapper who committed one of the most atrocious crimes and then claimed that his sentence was unfair. Anthony Rodriguez. Anthony Matthew Rodriguez had just turned 18 and was on probation from a previous conviction when he kidnapped and assaulted a 25-year-old woman at Martin Luther King Park in Great Falls, Montana, reeling. He was later captured and charged with kidnapping and second-degree robbery. During the trial, the jury heard the harrowing details of Rodriguez's crime.
I think that it was a crime of opportunity. I truly think that she was just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
The victim was grabbed from outside the park and dragged 105 feet into the park's men's bathroom when she was assaulted.
One of the really more poignant moments during the trial was that she signed no. She was signing no to him when he was assaulting her.
Rodriguez's DNA was found on the victim. The evidence against him was overwhelming, and he was found guilty of all charges. He was sentenced to 25 to life in prison. Up to this point, Rodriguez had been quiet and showed little remorse for what he had done. That is, until he heard his sentence.
With tears in his eyes, Rodriguez yelled profanity, calling the ruling unfair.
That's all you do is don't be away like that. Mr. Rodriguez, down.
His family also thought that the sentence was excessive.
You give a young kid like that 30 years to life, chances are you're not going to see that kid again.
I believe there's something wrong, that they shouldn't have gave him this. There's something wrong that, about things they didn't bring out in court.
But the judge did not think so, and he upheld the sentence. The highlight of the case was the bravery of the victim, who had to relive her trauma in court. Despite the difficulties, she stood up for herself and sought justice. What do you think about these kidnappers' reaction in court? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button for more interesting content.